Public access is provided by the City of Highland Park and made possible in part by our sponsors. Ravinia Festival, CJE Senior Life, Gand Music and Sound.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening. It is December the 14th, 2011. Wow, the holidays are creeping up on us faster than we can think. I hope everyone has got their shopping, their holiday shopping taken care of. If not, first thing tomorrow morning, that's what I keep telling myself, first thing tomorrow morning, we're going to go out and do the shopping. But please be very careful. The weather outside is rainy now. No snow, no ice. The weather is nice. This is December, and the weather is nice outside. Please knock on your next-door neighbor's door or phone them or connect with them, specifically if they're senior citizens, and see if they are in need of anything. And be as helpful as you possibly can. This time of year, seniors get very lonely, especially if they are alone, if they are single. So if you can help in any way, shape, or form, please be kind enough and compassionate enough to do so. Invite them for a cup of coffee, come over, bring some cookies for holidays season, and make yourself available because at one point in life, no one knows who, what, or when. The tables may be turned and you may need someone to comfort you. So that being said, and this being December the 14th, 2011, we have as our guest on the program this evening a very kindly and wonderful gentleman from the State's Attorney's Office, Assistant State's Attorney Reginald Mathews. And I'm going to shake your hand because you've got the warm hands. Good evening. And you came out in all this rain and whatever. And, you know, I'm sorry. I would make the sunshine if I could for you. Reggie is going to talk about what the job of the State's Attorney's Office is, how it's performed, and just a little info on Reggie. He played on a football team for 4 years. We got to know this guy is terrific, and he's just the all-American young man that you see before you, and we're gonna know that he's been in that office for 10 years. Incredible. So let's get to my guest this evening, Reggie Mathews. So welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper, for having me.
I am, so please call me Bev. I
thank
am
you.
so delighted that you were able to make it. Usually we have snow, but the rain is bad enough to drive in. And listen, I've got wonderful paperwork on you here. But maybe you can just let us know by your own, voice, what is it that you, your background. So you have 4 children.
Yes.
You are so young. 4 children. Oh my goodness sakes. Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you. And you know what? Your smile is more than the sunshine I need this evening.
So kind
thank
of
you.
you. Thank you.
You're right. I have 4 children, my wife and I. I'll be 40 actually, March 19th of next year. So I am creeping on 40. I grew up in North Chicago. Went to high school there, played football, ran track. I was on the honor roll for all 4 years at North Chicago High School. I was in the National Honor Society as well, and also participated in the individual events team, which is a team that do plays, they perform, they do prose, they do literature, so forth, for competition. After I graduated from North Chicago, I went down to Western Illinois University, where I played for the Fighting Leathernecks for 4 years. That was a situation where I didn't go down there on a scholarship, but the coach down there said, you know what, you can come down there and you can compete. And that's what I did for 4 years. I compete, the underdog going down there to compete, and I did for all 4 years.
Wow.
While I was down there, I earned my degree in law enforcement and administration. I was also on the honor roll down there, and I achieved many academic awards through our Gateway Football Conference for my academics and my athletics. Once I graduated from Western, and I graduated with the honor of cum laude, I then began to work locally in Gurnee, or Waukegan actually, at the Cherry Electrics, which they assemble car door mechanisms.
Yeah.
After about 3 months of doing that, I heard that there was a temporary job opening at the Lake County Probation Office for a young woman who was going on maternity leave. I took the chance to apply for that position. I obtained that position, and after working there, that translated into a full-time position based on my job performance.
Your experience there, sure.
Yes. And then when I finished that, did that for 3 years, and based on my experience, not only as a probation officer, but also in the courtroom, because a lot of times as a probation officer, I had to report to the judge.
Yeah.
I knew then I wanted to go to law school and take it to a different level. And I went down to Louisiana State University, where I received my degree, my Juris Doctorate in law. And then so when I graduated from law school, I applied at the Lake County State's Attorney's Office, and I've been there now for over 10 years, and I made it through every division. And I'm currently in the felony trial division, where I try every case from murders, home invasions, to retail theft.
Really?
Yes.
Retail theft, considering, what's the dollar amount on retail theft?
The law's changed. Now it's $300. So anything over $300 is a felony. Anything under $300 is called a Class A misdemeanor.
So if you've got if you've got some kids, pardon me, not really kids, but 19, 20-year-olds who are going to be, sticky-fingered on some of those, DVDs or whatever, and it doesn't add up to 300. So how are they brought then into the court system?
What happens is usually the store clerk makes a report, police respond. If the person is there, the perpetrator is there, they're arrested. If not, the officer does his investigation and then bring the charges to the state's attorney's office for what we call a review. If we deem that there's enough evidence to charge the person, we will issue a warrant or approve a warrant that the officer would then take before a judge and swear out the warrant to get the official warrant to then go and look and arrest that person. If the person is still on scene, they're arrested at that time, and then they're brought down to the police department, where usually they can bond out, meaning they can post money to get out of the jail at that time.
If they want to make restitution right then and there, does all this go away or not?
Typically not, and a lot of times it's discretion of the police officer at that stage, but typically no. I know some stores, like Sears, they have their own punitive measure as well. So not only could you be prosecuted criminally, but their division also has what's called civil penalties. So they tell you that if you steal from Sears, we can charge, I think, up to $1,000. They can go after you civilly and require that you pay $1,000, even though their merchandise was returned.
Oh, really? That's incredible. See, I don't think the public, when we had Dr. Rudd on, everybody was all ears watching this cable. Dr. Rudd was explaining everything. I mean, it was wonderful program. We will be having Dr. Rudd back on, but listen to how Reggie explains this, because this is very interesting. Because a lot of people don't know, what do you do?
Sure.
What do you do? So
Right.
you have very impressive credentials, and I'm more impressed minute by minute with you. And so if it's more than $300, then it's felony theft.
Correct.
Regardless of what's stolen, it could be a tire from their auto shop or anything like that. If it's a Target or a Walmart or whatever, we are in the season right now, Reggie. Finances are very tight for everyone, but everybody wants to give a Christmas present regardless. The ones that can't afford give the most, but there are strains on their purse strings. So you want to have a heart, but if something's taken illegally, you can't let it go, because one comes to two, comes to three, and then that's it. Merchandise is, going out the door without a receipt. So what do you tell those that are looking to size up something in very crowded stores that think they can probably lift something without being noticed?
Well, I tell them, don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. And we do recognize, and that's one of the beautiful things about being an assistant state's attorney and any state's attorney's office as the prosecutor, we have discretion to work a case out to what we think is a just disposition, because we're all about seeking justice. So,
Okay.
So you may have the 18-year-old, no prior criminal background. There's a certain way you may handle that. It can be anything from the return it, Mr. Merchant, Mrs. Merchant, do you want to prosecute? No. Or if it's yes, there are different types of dispositions. There's what we call supervision, and there's a conviction. A supervision is a deferred conviction, meaning that typically the person is placed on a period, could be 12 months of supervision, where they have several conditions they must adhere to. And if they adhere to those conditions, at the end of that time frame, the case terminates, and within, I think after about 5 years, they can seek to have that the arrest expunged from their record, assuming that they are law-abiding from there on out. Then you have the case where someone has 10, 20, I've seen it, retail thefts, where now, for the sake of society, we must be a little harsher, or we must, be more punitive in those type of cases. So we do have discretion the way we handle the case, and it's a case-by-case basis.
That's interesting. Knowledge I never had before. You just explained that. That's an education in and of itself. That's very interesting. You say you worked your way up. What was the ground level, and then to what degree are you at this point?
Thank you. First off, the state's attorney, for those who don't know, the state's attorney is the top law enforcement officer in any county, and here in Lake County. He or she has a job of prosecuting crimes. That's the number one job. The state's attorney also represents public officials in the civil matters, zoning issues, Department of Transportation. So he or she has that component to their job as well, but the primary job really is that of prosecuting offenders for criminal matters. I started out in the traffic division. That's pretty much speeding tickets, DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol as a misdemeanor, and some driving while license suspended, leaving the scene of an accident. I moved on to the...
How long do you have to stay in each area?
It depends. It depends on movement in the office. Usually the way it's been done is as people progress in their careers, some people don't have a desire to be prosecutors, and they leave the office. Others, like myself, I love this job. So I stuck with it. That's why I've been here for 10 years.
10 years.
And so you have a heart or you have a zeal for prosecution, for protecting society. And so it depends on if someone leaves or not, or if based on their merit, they're promoted. So it varies. From the traffic division, I then went on to the misdemeanor division, which is broken down to two separate divisions. One I call general misdemeanors, and then one that's domestic battery. Those are anything from, just like I said, batteries to...
You have to explain to our audience
sure.
what a battery
Sure,
is.
I'm sorry.
You're not in the courtroom here.
That's right. That's
we
right.
don't know this verbiage here.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you. Well, what a battery is anytime you physically strike another person or somehow make physical contact, either injuring that person or provoking them, or the contact is insulting. Domestic battery differs from what we call simple battery, in that there's a relationship there. It could be husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, or whatever. There's a familial relationship there. After misdemeanor, I moved on to our felony review division. That's the division that we do several things. One, we approve warrants when the police officers come in and say, hey, I got a case here. A person has committed a felony. I want to try to get charges. A person has committed a misdemeanor. I want to get charges. Sometimes they want to come in the middle of the night and say, hey, we have some strong evidence that a crime has been committed, and the proceeds of that crime is in John Q. Public's home.
Wow.
And we want to get a search warrant for that home. So that could be in the middle of the night, and this happened. So what happens is...
You have to wake up a judge?
Yes, at the middle of the night. Yes.
Really?
And I don't cherish doing that a lot of times, but, to protect society, you have to do what you have to do. So it could be that. Also, we also handle bond hearings. So if, the person's arrested, they come to bond court, and the judge hears the facts that support them being detained until the case is resolved, and then they must determine whether or not there's sufficient evidence to keep them until the case is resolved and what kind of bond to set. After that division, I moved to our juvenile division. That's out in Vernon Hills. Our juvenile division handle any type of crime committed by someone who is 17
or younger.
Or younger.
Now, to what age? I mean, 17 or younger, but where's the cutoff?
Right. That's also a case-by-case basis. Now, typically, one use their common sense in making that determination. But as we've seen, there can be cases where you can have a 9-year-old. If they've, heaven forbid, killed someone, they would most likely be charged as an adult, of course. But, I mean, they may have to be prosecuted juvenilely in the juvenile system because they may have circumstances in their life that warrants them being a ward of the state. So we can make sure that they grow up, turn from whatever they did, find out, get to the root of what they did, and make sure they don't reoffend as they get older. That division also handles, unfortunately, child abuse and neglect cases, and also even parental termination, or termination of parental rights. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's good.
So we handle those issues as well. After the juvenile division, I then progressed to our felony traffic division. Now those are aggravated or felony DUIs, or reckless homicides, where, again, heaven forbid, someone lost their life because someone was driving under the influence, or someone was driving distracted, painting their fingernails, or...
I read that. I know what you're telling is the truth, because I cannot believe somebody was painting their fingernails, and she ran right over that guy on his motorcycle.
So we had, so any of those type of cases, the felony traffic division handles those. The last two divisions I went through were the drug division, which handle all our major drug cases. And then finally I've made it to the felony trial division, and I've been there now for going on 7 years, where now I try the murders, the home invasions, the armed robberies.
That, you have to have a really strong constitution for that.
Yes.
Because you can't be a shrinking violet. You have to have really strong conviction about what you're doing to know that you are protecting society, and if the law has been broken to a degree where if it unfortunately costs the life of someone, you've got to be able to stand strong and say, this guy was under drugs or under the influence of alcohol or both, and came into someone's home and wreaked havoc and stole property and then assaulted and terminated the life of the owner of the home. Reggie, how did you get to be that strong to be able to either visit the scene of the crime or see these pictures? How can you do that? I mean,
you know what?
You're a human being.
Right.
How do you do that?
You know, it's all in my upbringing. I have to give a lot of credit, a huge amount of credit, if not all the credit, to my mother. She was a single mother. She raised 5 kids. I'm the youngest of 5. I'm the only boy, so I have 4 older sisters. And so naturally, being the youngest person.
Now I know you have to have a good family. You've got 4 older sisters.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm used to having a desire to protect, because growing up, even though I was the youngest, I had a desire to protect my sisters from everything, protect my mother from everything. And my mother, in doing so, she raised us in the church, so I have a strong spiritual background as well. And I just saw her work ethic. I don't think I remember a day that my mother didn't work 2 jobs. Oftentimes, she did everything she could to make to all my school programs and award ceremonies.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yet she still worked 2 jobs. I don't remember a day that she didn't work 2 jobs. So really just my upbringing, my spiritual convictions, and the environment in which I lived in. I grew up with a lot of successful young men. We're all doing great things right now. We have engineers and doctors. And only thing we did in the summers, we played baseball. We got together, we organized football games. That's what we did.
That's great. That's great. I mean, when others were looking to do harm, you guys were just out enjoying yourself, playing a sport.
Right.
Enjoying the sport.
Right. Riding our bikes, jumping over hills. We were just doing boy things.
Broken legs, arms. I always worried about that with the boys. Right. She's how incredible. Are you all in one piece here?
I am.
Oh, excellent. That's excellent. But murder one, that's very, very, I mean, that's hard to do. That is very hard to do.
You know, the most rewarding thing about that, if it is, I mean, yes, unfortunately someone's lost their life, but I can't tell you the number of trials I've had where at the end, the surviving victims, I mean, the fiance,
Okay, yeah.
the mother, the father, they're in tears after we get a result. And they come and they hug us and they thank us. I can remember many nights where I did murder trials where the jury was out late and it was dark like this. And I remember one particular night I was just sitting there in Waukegan, and I went to an area waiting for the jury's verdict to come back, and I was by myself because at that time the building is closed but for the jury.
Yeah, for sure.
And the county building has this pane glass window. It's a large pane glass window, and it looks out into County Street. And I saw the buildings, and I saw the lights on, and I saw my reflection in that window. And I looked past my reflection, I looked and I thought to myself, you know, the city is asleep right now, but they're counting on me to protect it. And that was a serious, a real feeling I had. And I had this rush of pride that I was still here. Jury came back guilty, and that family was thankful. Or you have the young girl who was unfortunately sexually assaulted. And to this day, I still get Father's Day card from that young woman. And I just want to tell her tonight, of course I won't say her name, but you know, I'm always thinking about her and those type of cases because they never leave you. They don't. If you get a not guilty, you have to deal with that. If you got a guilty, no matter what, someone was offended or violated, and it's something you don't get over. It motivates you. It keeps you going.
Boy, that's heart-wrenching. Can you can't retry these cases unless you have a mistrial.
Correct.
So, you know, if you have a mistrial the first time around, then you can. But don't you have to come up with evidence that wasn't proven the first time around, or?
Correct. One thing you have to have the evidence to prove somebody guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So as a prosecutor, our main job must be justice, and that justice must entail evidence where you can prove the person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If we don't have evidence to prove the person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, if we believe we don't have it, then as a prosecutor, we shouldn't be trying it. And we need to explain to the victim, say, look, you know, take their hand, let them understand that, you know what, we believe you. We know this happened. It's not enough evidence. Or if it is enough evidence, we can never guarantee an outcome. And we try to walk them through and let them understand that we're compassionate. We understand the situation. We're here for you. We're going to work hard for you. But we can never make a guarantee. But no, if there's not guilty, you can never try it again. If there is a mistrial, then our office must make a decision. What direction do we go now?
Are all of the attorneys, I mean, I am so impressed with you right now. I mean, between you and Dr. Rudd, this has got to be the best show we are doing, because this gentleman is giving us information, what he feels, what he does, how he does his job. how secure he is in his job, that he knows he's doing the right thing, and how he's protecting society, which is very important because we have to know when we go home at night that, from our jobs, from our place, that you are there and you are a watchful eye. You will always be looking out for the innocent and for those that have been accosted by the criminals on the scene, and to be able to make right the wrong that they've committed upon them. You mentioned about the state's attorney's office, but we have some. You brought 3 terrific graphs and posters, and I don't know if you know these by heart, but let me just say a number of employees in the state's attorney's office.
Yes, we have approximately 143 employees. 72 are attorneys. The other 71 are clerical staff, administrative, of course, investigators, victim witness counselors. They help us. The victim advocates, they do a tremendous job. They help us deal with the victims from a more human standpoint.
So does that mean that they have to have the education in law enforcement as well, or they just go by whatever the rules are in the office?
Typically, we would like them to have some type of collegiate background. It can be anything from social work, so forth. Some study psychology a little bit. Just how to make the victim feel comfortable, let them know we understand, and also help the attorneys to stop the legalese, because sometimes we can, for instance, instead of saying the car drove by, lawyers like to say the vehicle drove by. So, so sometimes to remind us, look, let's bring down the legal ease a little bit and talk English.
English. People have to understand. I mean,
right.
Those that come into the office, I mean, when a tragedy or some violence happens, you can't think straight. How do you get to the point where you can understand how, 1, 2, 3, exactly what happened? How do you calm the person down? What is it that you are able to do? I know I'm feeling very comfortable with you, and that I know that you know your business, and that society should feel very, very assured that anyone coming under your jurisdiction is going to be appropriate, one way or another, dealt with. So, I mean, do you deal with the judges? Do you deal with anyone else, or do you have a group